And in 3, 2, 1, begin. Welcome back to Project Jira. Rishabh here with a second marathon, and we just covered some slightly heavy topics, but mostly real life oriented responsibilities and tasks and actions. Income tax, household relations, coping strategies, as well as privacy production tips and tricks. And that was a previous episode. That one turns out that there's quite a bit of stuff that I'm going to lock a little bit behind on Patreon, but the majority of that video, at least 70% of it, will be completely public and free. That's what we just finished right now. And this is, of course, the relief shelter for those of you not familiar, a place that for those without a secure place to call home or without a secure social net of family to belong. I have to be a little bit quiet on that right now, but because it's like a backdrop. Anyways, so you get the general gist of things, and of course everyone here is welcome. And we're working on the marathon right now. This is a slice of life, as well as in real life IRL combination. It has been in the past many other things. There are multiple different analogies for this project in the past. Self-improvement, a self-therapeutic process, in real life game in real life. Also a journey, also a business, also a project. So many different things amalgamated together. Right now it's just at the next stage of its evolutionary process. So anyways, in this particular video, we're continuing on with the podcasting series, the podcasting marathon, I should say. I'm going to try and knock off another 10 tabs. I recognize just how far behind we are. 428 tabs. We started with 490. So you can see on the bottom right here, maybe we should set a goal now to knock off maybe about 20 tabs in 20 minutes. I think that would be more manageable. So from the bottom right here on the side, you see your settings. Let's just dive right into it. Previously on our podcasting marathon, that was probably 3-4 episodes ago, honestly, we were at Podbean. So you see Podbean here, we left 2 tabs open. We knocked off 2 tabs because we covered everything that we needed to regarding the RSS feed, what it means, really simple syndication, Podbean plugins, how it also automatically posts over onto WordPress if you have it all linked together. Here are some of the powerful plugins that Podbean has, and I'm pretty sure that we didn't actually go through them in any sort of detail, so I think that's a good place to continue, and then we'll cover the rest of the other tabs here that have to do with podcasting platforms. So some of the plugins here include episode tags, MailChimp, HLS video. So let's go through some descriptions here. HLS makes video podcast player faster and more smoother, and makes it play faster and smoother, more faster, more smoother. Let's talk about English. The audience receives the best video quality at any moment. We have Hacker Noon. Hacker Noon is built for technologists to read, write, and publish. Open and international community of 35,000 contributors. We have SEO meta tags and so on and so forth, making it easy to manage titles and create keywords, and so on and so forth, right? Social agency, Socio Club, Super Platform, Wavelab Pro, Salatus. Ooh. Automatically generate high quality, natural sounding podcast episodes from your written blog posts and articles. That sounds a lot like what we have here on Anchor, or Spotify podcasters. Basically, they convert your blogs over into podcasts. So there are some sample plugins I just felt we could read over. All right, so we're moving on. We're going to leave that tab open. It's definitely worth exploring, so I'm going to keep it open. Of the many here that we have to discard, however, is Stitcher. So we have here on the side here, so I just muted the audio there for the ad. But over here we have Stitcher next, and so Stitcher is one of those platforms that was marketed on Anchor or Spotify for podcasters. One of the links, including Castbox, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, and blah blah all that crap. But it's really just because it's not enough. There's probably at least 400, 500 different platforms at least for distributing your podcast. I only have touched maybe about 10%, if at all. So Stitcher, get premium, download the app, listen, discover premium shows, likes, merch. And I am logged into the account settings, but I only created the account to distribute it. And so you have the settings here: skip play episodes, seek forward by, and seek backward by. And of course, you scroll down here, there's the footer, About Us, Careers, Partner Portal, and Podswag. Let's click on About Us to learn a bit more about them. The best place for podcasts, I think that's a very difficult thing to say. We bring creators, listeners who love them, and the advertisers who support them onto a platform built for this medium. Simply put, we connect all parts of the podcast universe. That's a very, very bold statement, man. There are so many. There must be tens of thousands of different websites for hosting your podcast. So let's go down here to Partner Portal. Partner Portal, make your voice heard, add your podcast to Stitcher. Already have reach your podcast for fans, put the podcast first, reach millions of devoted fans. And the reason why it's already broadcast is because I didn't actually use Stitcher to get there. But if you wanted to, if you have podcasts and you want to put it over on Stitcher, you can go to www.stitcher.com/partners. That sounds like an advertisement because of the way it rolled off my tongue. I've got a narrating voice. But actually where we went to Simplecast. Now, I can tell here, it says to resubmit the form to display this webpage correctly. We had to resubmit the data you entered earlier because it requires authentication and sign up. We're not going to deal with that. So we're not refreshing this stuff. Hey, needless to say, we signed up for Simplecast, and this is where it would lead if it had logged in correctly. Of course, I think that was probably leading to the profile account. This is actually to my show page. So connect to simplecast.com. We have your shows, Respite Shelter, Project Zero, live reactions 24/7 by Onro, the CPTSD AI. What a title, what a name. We click on it and it leads here, and you can see there's actually more than one platform they have. They have the share link for Stitcher, but they also have the share link for Pandora, which is a different what do you call? And then we have the podcast settings, the RSS feed, hide, show, remove, Pandora Analytics, Stitcher Analytics. I'm pretty sure, basically no one has listened to this kind of stuff in the last 9 days. The irony, of course, is being out for about a week now. But these platforms here, like I said, Stitcher and Pandora are very small names. Same thing with Simplecast Creator Connect, which manages it. And the parent company is apparently a SiriusXM. So not serious as in I'm very serious, feeling serious as in Sirius, like the constellation Sirius or the mythological Sirius. One of those old names that sounds really cool. So we're gonna close that, and here's we're gonna hop over to another podcast site. So this is podcasts.com, or sorry, pocketcasts.com. My bad. And you have paid placements. You have things to keep in mind, how to get my podcast featured. Long story short, this is their landing page. It's another app here. Get a direct link to show your podcast, your Pocket Cast, by submitting to it using this form below. And you get this really amazing, short, tiny little link. At the very bottom here, you can also incorporate widgets. So you can embed buttons to your Pocket Cast over onto your website. Large, medium, small, and tiny size buttons for you to listen to, and for your audience and your target market to listen to when they arrive to your blog. Of course, you can download the assets here, light and dark, and so on and so forth. That's the reason why I left it here. I thought that was really interesting. But it's also it has a great link. I would say that this one has a very short link. So here it is. You can see pca.st/ and then you got my little moniker there, the hash. But Relief Shelter Project Jira live reacts 24/7. Oh, awesome. Look, you can see the title as reflected. It's no longer Respite Shelter, but Relief Shelter, which is a better keyword. And then project with a C instead of a K. Beautiful. Excellent. That's exactly what we want. And then Zhuravsky.wordpress.com. Open in Pocket Casts. Okay, creative content reacts. And then even in the keywords have been updated to reflect Relief Shelter and Project Jira, even in the description, but there's still hints of the overall real brand, which is with a K. Okay, Project Jira, like that. And it is Respite Shelters, but of course we just made it a little bit easier for the algorithm to catch on by using keywords that are more readily searched, like relief instead of respite. Next one, Radio Public. So this is another platform. This one is definitely marketed on Anchor or Spotify podcasters. And so you see here, verify your podcast. You can search for your show by title or paste your show's RSS feed, Radio Public, or iTunes link. So your RSS feed, your Radio Public, or your iTunes feed link, they can accept all of them. We need this link to help prove you have ownership of the podcast and to add it to the search directory. Search by title, paste the URL, link a podcast, link to your podcast, login, not a creator. So you would go through the process of validation, then just step 1, step 2, verify, and 3, terms of service, which we have already done. So pricing, learning guides, and login. Learning guides, interesting. So if you guys ever want to learn, you can also learn how to start a podcast and grow it over here too. Starting a podcast, improving your podcast, growing, and then finally making money. So growing your audience, improving it, starting out. Okay. You know what? This is super interesting. So what even is a podcast? Start at very basics, conceptualizing your show. They run through all the guides here. Very, very interesting. And then growing it, improving it as well. I want to click here, see what they have to say. Make your podcast sound good. Which parts sound better, are done better by someone else. Oh, realizing if and when parts of the process are better done by someone else other than yourself. It costs money to hire people to work on different parts of your projects, but it can become worth it. Okay. Allows you to focus on pieces of your podcast you're most excited to work on. So it's just about delegating. This is about management. Good tape. It's all in your head. Intimacy of podcast listening. Learning by listening. Anatomy of a scene. Writing for audio, not articles. And improving your audio production, digital editing, voicing, sound design. This is amazing. They have so much detail on this. It's crazy. And then growing your audience. Like, this is all way ahead. Like, I'm not even anywhere close to these stages. Your website, how to make a great podcast website, social media, promote your post with Instagram, Twitter, blah-de-da, 7 strategies, earned media, and so on and so forth, ensuring that they're shareable, community building and engagement. And they have all the source references. You can see all the credentials here. Amanda McLaughlin, we edit podcasts, podcast movement. They have all the references. And then finally down to making money. So podcast accounting, wow. Budget webinar, how much does it cost to produce? The basics, advertising glossary, making money from it, pricing, working with sponsors, ad formats, podcast ads, dynamic ad insertions, listeners. This is so interesting and so useful. We can go back here. We're going to leave this here. 19 Patreon rewards for podcasters. This is so interesting. Let's leave this open. Very useful. But again, we have multiple of the same tabs, so we can close this one here. Verify podcast. So you can see that one was very useful. And if you want, you can definitely go to check out that guide there, and they will have all these articles and ideas on how to grow, improve, and monetize your podcast. How to start as well. How's my feed? This is a different platform. Okay, take a little drink, a little bit of breather here. That took a lot out of me just to read Radio Public. So I'm just gonna pause a little bit for a second. So how's my feed? Is your podcast feed as optimized as it can be? This will tell you. So anchor.fm, go basic universal test, the podcasting equivalent of is the patient breathing. Shoot. Okay. Just when I decide to start the recording again. So how's my feed? Is your podcast feed as optimized as it can be? This will tell you. And you have actually my RSS feed there put in there. Basically, this is an amazing site here that allows you to test the functionality of your podcast feed. All the tests here, the basics, the sharing, SEO, Apple iTunes, right? So for example, let's run through some interesting stats. I'll tell you. Is something there? First of all, we check if something's at the URL in the first place, taking a reasonable time to retrieve. Is it an XML, which is a language that computers and soon robots use to talk to each other? Whether it's well-formed. Is it an RSS feed? Special flavor of XML used to publish blog and podcast feeds. This test to make sure the feed conforms to RSS 2.0 specification. Is the SLL certification iTunes compatible? iTunes supports feeds starting with https:// so security, but only from 8 popular SSL certificate providers. And that's interesting. I wonder which are these 8. providers. If this feed uses HTTPS, something along those lines. Look at what's new from a podcast. Just brought me over here. Okay, let's go back. Test whether it uses something compatible. Sharing SEO. Does it feel good? Does it have a good URL? Apple iTunes. Test for stuff that matters as specified in Apple. So the cover art, is it the right amount of pixels? 1400 by 300 square. Support for HTTP head requests. Byte range support. Valid iTunes category. So all this stuff, they run through it all. And if I click the go here, it'll run through the test, and it'll showcase to me some of the things that I'm doing well and some things that are not. So mine is clearly not an XML, but if we go down here, it is an RSS feed. Is it SSL certification iTunes compatible? Yes, it is. Does it feel good? It has good SEL, apparently. You appear to be master of your own domain. The cover art's not good though. The file size is too large, 854 kilobytes. Must not be larger than 512. But they do say that pixels is square, so that's good. Everything else is a check to check. Of course, basically all you can do. This is an amazing site here for you to check your RSS feed. So that's great. Okay, I think the advertisement is gone. Let's start Spotify again. Let's see. We're running on 16 minutes now. Let's cover. Here's another. So basically, this right here is the same site as Radio Public, with all the guides and articles, but just at a different section. So this was focused on getting started, right? So there was the section on growth, improvement, monetization, and starting. So how to start a podcast by Radio Public. Congratulations, super excited. Feel very alone right now, but trust us, you're not. Recent count says more than 600,000 podcasts and 30,000 new shows are added each month. Wow. And they all start somewhere. Right. Doesn't mean it's easy, but never fear. So before you start conceptualizing your show, do you want to start? Read this first. You might not be ready to start. The biggest challenges they face. Do you have an idea? Should it be a podcast in the first place? The most important question to ask yourself, and how to write a fiction podcast. So then you have pre-production as well. So you've got a concept. Now it's time to hit record, or close. Planning and pre-production awaits you next. So ideas and planning, more pre-pro, less problems. Building a team if it's just you. Even if it's just you, what kind of podcast? Creative, technology. 21 top podcast hosting companies. Hosting distribution, where to host a podcast, funding, and so on and so forth. Pragmatist guide to podcasts and money and production. Making a trailer, writing, all that stuff. Hardware and software. Podcasting basics, 1 and 2. Recording gear, software. Field gear, good, better, worse. Process. A step-by-step walkthrough of my podcast process. They even have a guideline like that. Imagine that, how it's super, super useful. Perfecting your web presence. Oh my God. It just goes on and on. It's a never-ending list of resources for people who want to get started. Podcast directories, where to submit them. Wow, this is amazing. So what I'm going to do is, since we have both of them open, and this one here is focused on monetization and not particularly useful for me because I'm not at that stage yet, we can probably close this one. But we'll leave this guide here open because it's more relevant to me getting started right now. All right, so with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back up here and just showcase where we're headed in the next podcast video, because it's about 20 minutes now. But basically, we see all these articles here, right? So we see the pre-production before you start. What we ended up doing was we ended up clicking and following through with some of these links here. So want to start a podcast, so on and so forth, and it leads us to all these articles. So that's what we're going to cover next in the next video, and you can look forward to that. So lots to cover, lots of interesting stuff, and very useful content if you're starting a podcast yourself. So I'll see you all there. This is Rishabh, and I'm signing out. And yeah, feel free to share your experiences and your thoughts, and any relatable experience if you have your own podcast. What's it on? What's your topic? And go ahead and just go ham on it in the comment section. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.